All right, let's see if this works. Gonna try to do a stream here. This is gonna be the first of a new series. We'll give a few minutes for folks to start to enter the room. I'm going to head over and just check to make sure everything's working before we get started with this. I'm currently trying to stream directly to YouTube rather than using my restream that I've done in the past. So it's been a while since I've done this, so we're going to see if it's working. Once I know it is, we'll go ahead and get started with setting up the campaign. I haven't opened my chat yet, so if you're chatting, I may not be here just yet. My laptop's running a little behind on getting caught up on things. I'm playing on the desktop, but I'm pulling up the chat on the laptop. Lawson Brady, can you hear me? Hello. You appear to be the first. It's been a long time since I've live streamed. Can you hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear everything. Mr. Fredrickson, welcome back, sir. Good to see you. All right. Let me know if you can hear me okay, guys. While I take a little sip of my Sprite. Okay, awesome. There's a little bit of a delay between when I speak and when I get your chat, so probably a few seconds behind. But it looks like everything's going well. Oh, we're up to 7 now. That's growing quickly. So let me know. Let you guys know what's going on. This isn't going to happen real often with this because I want to live stream some different games because I know we've got kind of a variety of folks. We've got a lot of folks that are here because of Hearts of Iron 4, a lot of folks that are here because of Ultimate General Civil War, a lot of folks here because of Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Those are kind of the 3 main sources of subscribers right now. Volume's a little high. Okay. I'll turn that down a bit. And so I'm gonna do this as an occasional series on Ultimate General Civil War. It's been a long time since I've done the Union Legendary, and there's a lot of new folks. But I thought it'd be cool to do a live stream only version of the Union Legendary campaign. Plus, I've never done the Legendary campaign using the JNP Rebalance mod, which is what I have installed on the game now. So I've been using that for my other campaign that I'm currently doing, but not a traditional campaign. So we'll do this every so often. Hey, Sweet Tooth, James Watson, Austin. Good to see all of you here. Feel free. This is pretty laid back when I do these live streams. I'm kind of half paying attention to the game and half paying attention to what everybody's saying. So feel free to talk about anything. Live streams go in some pretty weird directions sometimes as far as the stuff we end up talking about. And I know that it's some of our friends, we have a lot of followers over in Europe, unlikely to be watching at this time. And my apologies to you because we're doing this kind of late on a Friday night Eastern time. It's 10 o'clock, so I know it's in the middle of the night for our European friends, but we will do another live stream tomorrow. Sorry, Georgia Farman, no, we are back to USA because I'm currently still doing a CSA campaign, so I'm going to do a US one this time, but But we are definitely gonna do some more live streaming tomorrow during the day, so that our European friends will be able to watch too. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're gonna start a new campaign, and honestly, I have no idea how this is gonna go with this rebalance mod. I don't know if it's gonna be crazy hard or what. But
this government cannot endure
Edmund.
permanently.
That's awesome. And you know, Edmund, I know there's a lot of confusion between my channel and the History Guy. The History Deserves to Be Remembered. And every so often I get posts from people saying, hey, you stole his name. That's not the case. Started my channel in December 2016. He started his about a month and a half later. It just so happens that his is a lot more popular than mine is because I'm doing gaming and he's doing primarily historical videos. He's very good at what he does. I don't want to take anything away from him, but you know, I've got like 900 videos on here, so it'd be crazy for me to go and try to change my name now. Though I wish I could because it does cause some confusion. So I encourage people to subscribe to him. I'm not trying to steal his identity or anything like that. But all right, so West Point graduation. Hey, I was just at West Point not too long ago. You know what? How do we want to go with this to start out? This is a tricky one. I like my recon points early. It is the weekend, yes. Will we be able to name the series? Absolutely. Any current Ultimate General series I have, patrons do get to name those. Lucas, what is up? Welcome. So yeah, you can just shout it out to me when you want to. Probably not in this first battle because we'll have to get through that. But once we get back to camp after this first battle, we'll definitely get those names going for you. Okay. Recon, training, logistics, medicine. I like having politics early, but there's the politics right there. So we'll get our 3 politic points right there. We are going to be doing a Union Legendary Mode campaign. So here we go. So you can see kind of our starting out. 12% bonus to income, 6.6% discount on stuff we purchased. Veterans cost 9% less. Recruiting up 12%. Unit restores at 0 because we don't have any points in medicine. We have 1 core number and trivial information about the enemy units. Yeah, first battle for the Union is pretty hard, and I don't know how it's going to be with this mod. I know that there are changes with the mod, and so that's what I really don't know what to expect, because when I played the Legendary campaign before, I kind of know what to expect, what battles are hard and which ones aren't. But on both campaigns, the first battle's pretty hard, but especially on the Union side. I have been known to have to play this battle multiple times, but I don't know if they made it a little easier on this mod or not. So first things first, we got to drive these guys out. We can't have them firing down on us from up here on this bluff. So like I said, pretty low key when I'm playing on a live stream because I'm trying to pay attention to what you guys are talking about at the same time. Nordic Paws Productions, what is up? Epicest Poop Muncher Gang. People still play this game. Well, I play this game. I can't speak for everyone else, but yes, I play this game. So we're going to kind of slow this mod on the slowest setting is actually kind of the halftime setting. Columbus, Georgia. I did not hear of there being a battle there, but I am aware of Columbus, Georgia. All right, here we go. We're going to be in. This guy's charging right at me to begin with, so let's go ahead and back up a little bit. I'm going to try to get some of these guys out and around him if I can. There we go, 25 watching the live stream. That's pretty awesome. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you. Feel free to talk about anything. We don't have to talk about just the game. And tomorrow we'll be live streaming, probably doing some live streaming of Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts tomorrow. William F. Bartlett's brigade. Remind me when we get to the camp, and I'll get that name set up for you. Georgia Farming, it's only $6 on Steam now. Are you kidding? That's awesome. I paid a lot more for it than that, but I guess it's been a while. Of course, I paid $50 for Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, but it's been by far the most popular game on my channel right now, so I guess it's been worth it. Alright, so all of this is going to take a while, but there's really no timer ticking right now, so we've got plenty of time. It's better to do this right. Well, General Grant did own a slave or two at one point in his life. Not for very long, but I guess it's not a huge stretch for him to have been with the South. There weren't really too many Northern folks who fought for the South. There were some Southerners who stayed loyal to the Union. George Thomas comes to mind as an example. Lucas, yes. Hey, if it's $6, absolutely. A lot of replayability. I've got like 2,000 hours in this game, which is probably more than most folks. But it's a lot of fun, and there's so many ways you can play and you know, trying different things. I'm kind of excited to try this again after having played the No Infantry Campaign Challenge. Oh, look at Hexamer sneaking around over here on me. He's getting a little more aggressive than he usually is. So, you know, I think my tactics are going to change now, having done these No Infantry Campaign Challenges and gotten a lot more use out of things like artillery and skirmishers. Where's everybody watching from tonight? Let me know where you are. What country or what state you're in if you're here in the States. Yeah, I agree. The mod does improve on the game. I'm hoping the same things will be possible with Ultimate Admiral, Dreadnoughts, and Age of Sail. Alright, so far, let's just look at how the casualties are stacking up. Oh man, Stockton not so good. Oh, you know what? These deaths, this is misleading. This happens when you have a unit split into two like this, where it shows the death. They're not really suffering that many deaths. They started out probably at 250, so it's just kind of tricky how that happens. Columbus, Georgia. Canada. James, where in Canada? Savannah, Georgia. Dauntless, Kentucky. Yes, this is Panda Kraut's mod. You'll see him show up on the channel from time to time. He comments on a lot of the videos, adds a lot of great insight. He knows this game way better than I ever could. Jacksonville, Florida. Very cool. My mom lived in Jacksonville for a number of years. And Lucas, Phoenix. My mom also lived in Phoenix. She actually lives in Tucson now. Fabian, Indonesia. That's fantastic. It's got to be, what is it, in the morning right there? Over there right now? And we know, let's see. Dauntless, where in Kentucky are you? Just curious because my family's originally from Eastern Kentucky. All right, we're driving Burns back. Let's go ahead and start advancing. We've got plenty of time. I'd rather deal with these guys here than deal with them down in the town. It makes the first battle take a lot longer, but this is one I really have to take my time and do right. Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was just there a couple years ago. Hometown of Gerald Ford, former president. I spoke at a school in Grand Rapids. Oh, London, Ontario. Very cool, James. You're not real far from me. You're probably 4 or 5 hours away from me. I can be at... Oh boy, we're getting flanked. I can be at Niagara Falls in about 3.5 hours. Nordic Paws, Fredericksburg. Very cool. Haven't been there in a long time. I'd love to go back. I visited the battlefield as a kid. Oh yeah, Louisville. I've been to Louisville many times. I used to go to conferences at Southeast Christian Church, which is this huge mega church of like 20,000 people that they have there. Actually, I used to live a couple hours west of Louisville, over near Evansville, Indiana. If you went east on Interstate 64 over toward Olive Hill, Kentucky, that's about where my family's from. Greensboro, North Carolina. Nice. Bryce, what's up? Mr. Fredrickson, you are up early, sir. Are you often up this early? Fabian, good morning to you. All right, let's see what's going on. I'm going to actually pause for just a second. Schaefer's doing a great job. Only 343 men holding off Hexamer. I've never really fought this much of the battle up here. All these units up here, usually, you encounter a couple of skirmishers and then the main battle's fought down here, but definitely not the case right now. We've still only lost just a handful, like 4 each on these skirmisher units, but we got to be careful here. See if we can get Stockton up around him a little more. Oh, wow, Lawson. I honestly had no idea there was a battle that big in Georgia the week after. Now, I know that Joseph Johnston's army was still active, up until May when he surrendered to Sherman, but not really any major battles going on. BPM, that's pretty cool. Alright, we're just going to kind of hang tight right here for now because I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot and I've got the advantage in terms of firepower on all these units at the moment. The Shadow of Death. Theocles, the Shadow of Death. Very cool. Yeah, Dauntless, I agree. This will, like I said, this is my first time playing through on Legendary mode with the rebalance mod. Kids are great. Actually, my daughter's channel, my daughter, she's 14. She's in high school now. And not only does she get one of the leads in a school play, which is amazing because we have about 1,500 kids in our high school, but she also has her own YouTube channel. She's got about 55,000 subscribers, and she just started it in April. So she's putting her old man to shame, and we love it. She's already made like $8,000, and so we're making her save most of that money, setting her up for success later in life. So we're pretty excited about that. Jefferson, I am absolutely insanely excited about both of those games. Mostly about Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, but also about Age of Sail. I'm mainly excited to get into the campaigns, having tasted a little bit of the games. I really want to get into campaigns. My son Caleb, he's going to be 12 next week. So he's in 6th grade. He's in the STEM program at his middle school. He was one of 50 kids who got accepted into our STEM program. He gets perfect grades. He's like over 95% in every one of his classes. Super smart kid. Actually, the reason that we got started so late tonight is because I had to take him to soccer practice. He's on a club soccer team. And he has practice from 5:30 to 8 on Friday nights. We practice Wednesday and Fridays. So I took him to that and then came back and had to wait for my daughter to get off the computer so I could get on. What is up, Scarheart? Nice to see you again. Bryce, I've been to Texas a few times. Let's see, I flew into Lubbock once. I'm a huge Buddy Holly fan, so that was pretty awesome. I spent about a week up in Amarillo, north of Amarillo actually, and then about a week in Fort Worth. We're going to bring up all this artillery and we're going to just really put the smackdown on these guys before we go moving on the town. We've got 6.5 hours left on the mission timer, so. Yeah, Jefferson, I had to pay $50 to get my hands on Dreadnoughts. It was a steep price to pay, but I'm pretty glad I did it. I know it's not for everybody because there's not a lot available to it right now. But the campaign, I think, is going to be amazing if they do it right. Dauntless, I've wanted to go to Perryville. I had some relatives who fought at Perryville. B. Nutzer, welcome back, sir. Good to see you again. Yeah, Shadow of Death, I hear you, man. And thank you for your service. But yeah, I mean, at that point, the tactics were far behind the weaponry, the technology. I mean, you know, standing shoulder to shoulder and firing was fine when you had musket balls that were super inaccurate, even at 100 yards. But by this point, you've got tens of thousands of men pointing rifled guns with mini balls that were accurate at 300 yards. It was a totally different thing, which is why you see by 1864 you see all of the trench warfare, because they're starting to realize, hey, this is not a good way to fight a war. Rule the Waves, yes. Gonna be getting back to Rule the Waves. I'm gonna be pretty busy next week, so I'm trying to record some videos ahead of time for Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, but you'll definitely be seeing some more of my Rule the Waves 2 series coming up in the next few days. Rochester, New York, what is up? Alright, he's falling back now to the town, so now we're going to have to pursue him. I'm going to slow this down while we kind of figure out what we're doing. Yeah, mini balls. No kidding. Soldier's worst nightmare. I mean, by the time the Civil War is over, you're starting to get a glimpse of what World War I would be like. They were starting to figure out those kind of static trench warfare tactics. Dauntless, that's awesome. I'm very lucky. You know, my wife's side of the family, Trace and her tree, I've actually only found one of her ancestors who fought in the American Civil War. I've got 9 that I know of, which is probably why I'm so drawn to it. I tend to believe that stuff kind of gets passed down in your DNA a little bit. Frederick, Maryland, yes, I was there. Actually, on my channel, there's a video of me at the cemetery there in Frederick, Maryland. Mount Olivet. I think that's Mount Olivet. I think that was the name of it. The one where Francis Scott Key is buried, Barbara Fritchie. Trying to think of who else was buried there. A lot of the Confederate dead from the Maryland campaigns are buried there. Alright, so these guys are going to be largely intact still. So we're going to have to be careful, and we'll have to start using some artillery as we come back down here. I'm going pretty slow with this and methodical just because this is such a difficult battle historically on here. Yeah, Jefferson, once you got to the ironclads, you get into 1862, 63. Yeah, they were just bouncing solid shots off each other. Spanish-American War, very cool. Scarheart, I had a cousin. He'd be like a second cousin to me. His name was William Stillwagon. And apparently he was the very first soldier killed in the Spanish-American War. I've been to his grave in Connellsville, Pennsylvania. He was the first guy off the boat when they landed in the Philippines, and he was shot on the beach as soon as they got off. And according to the reports, he was the first one to die. He was in a Pennsylvania regiment. Matthew, I'm not surprised. I hadn't heard that study, but that doesn't surprise me one bit that some of that stuff gets passed down in DNA. Lawson, I had a couple of ancestors at Kennesaw Mountain and in the Atlanta campaign. I had an ancestor, his name was Samuel Hughes. He lied about his age. I think at the time the oldest you could be in enlist was like 44 or 45. So he said he was 44, when in reality he was 59 years old. And he enlisted in the 20th Ohio, served for 3 years. Was at Shiloh, Vicksburg campaign, Atlanta, Kennesaw Mountain. And then he mustered out in 1864 in Atlanta right before the March to the Sea. Charge the train! Oh yeah, that stupid train. My goodness. I gotta deal with that as soon as I get a chance. Once we get to that counterattack, 'cause that thing will light me up. Harry Turtle Dove, Kyle, I'm with you. It's been a while since I've read any of them, but I love alternative history. Good stuff. Wow, we got 52 people watching the live stream right now. That is awesome. Welcome, everyone, and my apologies if I miss something that you say. If you feel like there's something important you said and I didn't see it, please say it again. I'm trying to watch the stream as best I can while I play. But you know, with this many people, it's moving kind of fast. So, ha, Bubby, I'm sorry, man. I will play something different tomorrow, I promise. Meeks from Clyde, Ohio. Well, it may be Toby. William Stillwagon was his name. Maybe he was the first. Where was the guy from Clyde, Ohio? Where was he killed? Because I know there were multiple theaters of the war. Maybe it was that William Stillwagon was the first guy killed in the Philippines. A half-scale Parrott rifle, that would be amazing. I don't know where I'd put it, and my wife would kill me, but yeah. TX for you. Hey, thank you, man. I have studied the Civil War, which obviously you are from the South calling it that, and I don't blame you one bit. I kind of feel, even though I'm a Northerner, I am Kentuckian by genetics, and my family was evenly distributed on both sides. But yeah, I've been studying the Civil War since I was like 8 years old. It's always been a passion of mine. It's certainly the topic I know the most about. It's no problem, buddy. Nothing wrong, nothing at all wrong with you having different preferences. What kind of games do you like? Yeah, Zachary, I am. World War II has been my drug of choice, so to speak, as of late. Just got through watching Netflix has a cool series that just came out. It was like a 4-part series or something on World War II in color. It's not the World War II in color. That's not what it's called, but it is like that. And it's really good. I actually learned a few things I didn't know before. Now, Dino, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. There were plenty of folks who could have been tried for war crimes for what they did to Native Americans. Lawson, I was just in Alabama last week. I was up near Huntsville. I was in Arab, Alabama, or Arab as they call it there. And we got some ammo issues here. A lot of Crimson Tide fans there. I'm a Buckeye fan. Don't hold that against me. Toby, that's cool. They found the Kaga and the Akagi within a week back in October. I had heard about that. That is awesome. They were both from, I think they were both sunk at Midway, were they not? Hey, Dauntless. Have a good night. John Pemberton, yes. I'm not even paying attention to the game right now. I'm going to catch up on what you guys are saying here real quick. Go big or go home, Matthew. I like it. Push that flank with Schaefer. Let me take a look and see where we're at. Yeah, Schaefer, yeah, I see ya. Auburn, not Alabama. Yeah. I had a next door neighbor when I lived in Pennsylvania for 7 years. She grew up in a family of Alabama fans, and she went to Auburn, which I can't believe did not get her disowned in that family. General McPherson is buried 50 yards from who? I must have missed something. Toby, 1 second. Let me scroll back and see what you were talking about. McPherson, yeah, he was killed in Atlanta, the only American or only Union Army commander killed during the war. Very beloved by his troops. The local GAR, Grand Army of the Republic post in Niles, Ohio, which is not far from where I live, was the James McPherson post. Oh, Meeks. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, Clyde, Ohio. That is where he was from. It's up in, it's like west of Cleveland, if I remember right. That's a couple hours away from me. Just got to keep an eye. We still got 5.5 hours, plenty of time on this battle. So the more I can keep him out in the open and cause casualties, the easier my crossing gets. I got to get these guys resupplied though. Thorinir Gross, what is up? Kyle, I hear you. It's complicated. It's overly simplistic to say that the war was about slavery, but at the same time, it would be dishonest to say that slavery wasn't a big reason for the war. It was a states' rights issue, but slavery was the states' rights issue that was primarily at hand. But yeah, it was much more complicated than that. Obviously, I totally see why the South calls it the War of Northern Aggression. They saw Lincoln as raising troops to put down, to basically invade his own country, and that's kind of what pushed some of those northernmost southern states, North Carolina, Virginia, kind of pushed them over the edge, was Lincoln's call for volunteers. Thorinir, you know what? Don't feel bad about that. I've got hundreds, actually thousands of hours in this game to be able to get to the place where I could do this well on the game. So it did not happen overnight for sure. Zachary, that's interesting. Very cool. Shelby Foote, fantastic writer, one of my favorites. I really enjoy his participation in the Ken Burns Civil War series, which is really what got me really interested in the Civil War. Yeah, Georgia Revolution did not go for a lot of folks in the South. I had 2 ancestors hanged during the Revolutionary War. Both of them were loyalists, but who had been born here in America. I actually have a piece of the tree that one of them was hanged from. I did a video about it a while back. It was called Tory Oak. It's in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And then my other ancestor who was hanged, his name was, what was his name? Francis Hopkinson. And his son was actually in the American Patriot Army, and yet this father of this Patriot soldier was a loyalist who was hanged by the Americans. Well, Lucas, absolutely, they were defending slavery, but to them it was a bigger issue. It was states' rights, because you got to remember, by and large, the vast majority of Confederate soldiers did not own slaves. They weren't wealthy enough to own slaves, and the fact is, just there weren't that many people in the South who actually owned slaves. I don't know, 10, 20% at most. And so, the average guy who fought on the front lines and who died at places like Gettysburg was not dying for the right to own slaves. That's not how he saw it. That doesn't mean that's not why the government did it. And that's not why the leaders of the Confederacy did it. That's just not for the average soldier. Matthew, would not surprise me one bit if we were cousins. Zachary, yeah, I've been working on my family tree for, I don't know, 20 plus years now. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and I've been doing for a long time. Been a professional genealogist for a number of years, and I do a lot of research for other folks too. I'm gonna get Schaefer resupplied. How we doing here? Scales not so good, but he's taking most of the casualties. I think we're gonna have to push McHenry out of here. Yeah, Andrew, I'm with you on that. I think kind of like, the Total War series, where you can hold down the space bar and you can see where the troops or where the line will be when they move. You can kind of see their destination. All right, we got to get some of this artillery firing on these other guys. Stockton over here. The Civil War became inevitable the minute the Founding Fathers decided to punt on the issue of slavery, which was a calculated decision they made. And it honestly, the first 100 years of our country, probably more than 100 years, all of politics was really kind of came down to that issue of slavery. The reason that parties formed in the first place was that you had kind of the Northerners versus the Southerners who were trying to protect the institution of slavery. I gotta pause for a second and go grab my power supply because my laptop's about to die. Okay, we're back in business. Okay, so yeah, let's get them pushed so we can get up to this edge here and we can start firing on these fortifications a little bit. I actually want to get this guy out here, so we're going to charge McHenry and push him out of there. Yeah, Backseat Gamer. I have not done so well on Age of Sail, so I was pleasantly surprised with how well that went when I played that little mission there. I'm going to go back and replay Bunker Hill in a couple days because that went very badly the first time I did it. I feel like I've got a little better handle on it now, so we're going to try that one again. Army Chow Mein. No, I am not streaming this on a laptop. I'm playing the game and streaming off my desktop. I'm watching the chat on my laptop on a separate computer. No, I would not be able to play this on a laptop. My laptop would never run this. It doesn't really run anything for that matter. Yes, John Slater. There were a number of threats of secession by Yankees. New England threatened to secede. You're right, 1820-ish. There was even talk of that during Washington's administration. Shadow of Death, that would be awesome. I am planning on playing this all the way through. This is going to be a live stream only campaign, so even if I only live stream it once a week, that's how we're going to do this campaign. It may take a while to get through it that way. But I'm playing on Legendary mode with the J&P Rebalance mod, which is my first time playing through the Legendary campaign with the mod, so I really honestly don't know what to expect. It's been very different already. And it seems like he definitely has more troops than I was expecting him to have. We gotta get Loomis turned, because Root's gonna start firing on me in a second. And that's why you can see me getting flanked. I'm going to go ahead and turn Loomis too. I think Walton can handle McHenry from here. Let's start getting their artillery up. Still lots of time. It's still 5 hours to go in this first phase. This is the easy part. It's withstanding his counterattack that is insane. Oh yeah, New York was difficult during the war, to say the least. There was a lot of trouble keeping the states together because they were so different. The large states versus the small states, the slave states versus the non-slave states. And honestly, I mean, because the founding fathers were just trying to keep the country together, they just kind of punted on the issue of slavery, and they kind of kicked it down the road and left it for another generation, unfortunately. All right, we're going to have to get over there and help McHenry, or help with McHenry. Yeah, I'm getting that artillery up. I want to get these guys a little closer so we can hopefully use some canister. Okay, Zook doesn't have a lot of cover here, so I want to back him up. This is kind of a bad situation here just because of the way these units are exposed. Yeah, the draft was a huge problem. The Loch Ness Monster. I need about 350. Oh my gosh. That is awesome. What battle is this? This is the Battle of Philippi, and that is how it's pronounced. Philippi, West Virginia. It was kind of the first real organized armed skirmish / battle of the Civil War. It wasn't nearly as big as it is on this game in terms of the casualties and such. I've been to the Philippi battlefield. It's not far from me. I only live about a half hour from the West Virginia Panhandle. Mason-Dixon line. It runs just north of Camp David. Camp David is actually not real far from Gettysburg. Yes, it is the first battle of the campaign. John Slater, it is my favorite. It's hard to say best. Scarheart, have fun, enjoy. You know, there's so many different ones. I honestly would really like to get into not Civil War General 2, but Civil War 2, which is a very complicated, steep kind of learning curve campaign type of game. But I think it's the best Civil War game. But, you know, I understand why people might not feel that way. I really wish it had a multiplayer. If it had a multiplayer, it would probably be my all-time favorite game of any kind. Oh, we're just having a nightmare with McHenry over here. And part of it is because of this, where these guys are. Scales doesn't have a lot of cover either. We've got to kind of pull these guys back. Yeah, Kyle, I mean, yeah, the shoe thing is probably overblown. Yeah, a Sweet Tooth, I think there is. I'm pretty sure there's one for 2nd Franklin. Renee, Berlin, hey, hello. So glad you're here. My daughter and I are slowly but surely learning German. Would I be right to say Guten Morgen to you right now? I mean, I guess it's the morning technically there. Very much hope to visit Germany someday. A lot of my family tree comes through Germany. Got a real soft. Germany and England are probably outside of my two favorite countries. I am having a nightmare over here on my left. Rebels love bridges, yes. Oh, the crater. Bryce, have you seen, what is it? Cold Mountain? Is that the movie that shows the Battle of the Crater? Oh, now our artillery's being fired on here. These guys have just no morale right now at all. I gotta at least get them back in front of the artillery. I'm gonna target his artillery. It's definitely going to be a challenge playing on Legendary mode on a live stream because I can't give my full attention to the game as much as I really should, but we're going to do our best. Well, I will have, for those of you who can't stay for the whole thing, this will be live in a few hours, so definitely come back and check it out when you get off work, and you can watch the rest of it. I'm gonna hit Burns. I know I'm trying to target his artillery, but I also want to hit these guys who have their flank exposed to me right here on the beach. Man. Yeah. No, Bryce, it wasn't I don't know if it was so much a terrible plan. The plan was good. Yes, the Adam K12, this is modded. This is the J&P Rebalance mod. Panda Kraut's a very active part of this channel. He's super smart when it comes to this game. He knows things that, you know, make me look like an amateur on this game. And he's one of the people who designed that mod, did a great job with it. Alright, we gotta get some more help over here to deal with McHenry. I gotta get him driven off. What a pain. Empire Darth Mod is good. I can't believe anybody would fight over West Virginia. West Virginia's not so bad. Look at this guy. Charging across the bridge. I'm gonna let Scales try to recover a little bit here. Schaefer's just racking up the kills, man. He's just kind of parked over here doing his thing. I'm gonna get him over here a little further where he's got some better cover. Yeah, pike and shot arrow would be cool. Yeah, Bryce, that's the execution was the issue. We were starting to talk about that, and I kind of got sidetracked. Especially replacing the, I believe there was a unit of black soldiers who had been trained on what to do and knew exactly how to execute the battle. At the last minute, they replaced them with white soldiers. Stupid idea. Who just kind of poured right down into the crater and completely ruined the plan. I think their commanding officer was drunk and relieved of command afterwards, and it was just a debacle. The Adam K-12 actually studied history in college, though I've never actually held a job in that field. Life just went a different way. But yeah, I was a history major in college, so this has been a lifelong passion of mine, though I guess technically I would be an amateur historian. Yes, Shattered Union definitely was great. The, what is it? What's that game that everybody's really into right now? Something. There's a mod for the Alamo I've played just to kind of experience it a little bit. I'm trying to remember the name of the game off the top of my head. They've got mods for Bunker Hill, Custer's Last Stand, all kinds of stuff. Here it comes, charging again. Bull Run. Oh, love the Bull Run battlefield. Nice and small. You can see a lot of it in one place. Actually just did a video with my daughter going there last year. War of Rights? No, I'm not talking of War of Rights, not Fortnite. No, it's, oh gosh. I'll tell you in a second. Because I have it on Steam, so let me switch over to that and I can tell you what it was. The game I'm thinking of that has all those mods. Somebody will probably come up with the name. Robert E. Lee Civil War, that was a good game. Oh, Men of War Assault Squad 2 is the game I'm thinking of. Little Bighorn, I want to visit there so bad. That's another one of those historical events that I've spent a lot of time studying. Just saw, supposedly, Custer's grave up at West Point a couple of weeks ago, although I would imagine if he is buried there, it isn't much of him. Man, my left has been a disaster in this battle. I gotta pull these guns back while I've still got them. This McHenry has just given me nightmares. Mountain Blade? Oh, yeah, Mountain Blade has one too. I actually just played some Mountain Blade today. I was playing their Lord of the Rings mod. Yeah, that's what I'm just gonna sit here and let them keep doing that, try and inflict as many casualties as I can. See if we can target this artillery some more. Took a long time to get Woods out of there. I'm gonna pull Scales back. We're just gonna leave Root alone. Park Scales over here. I'm gonna bring Schaefer around too. We're gonna get around on the other side of McHenry. Yeah, John Slater, I agree. William Jenks, hey, thank you. Glad to have you. We're going to do some live streaming of Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts tomorrow. Don't know what time yet, but thinking probably around noon Eastern time. Maybe a little earlier. Depends on what's going on in life. You know, I got 3 kids and a wife, so sometimes it's not easy to plan. Yeah, let's get Zook back. He's out in the open too much. There's just no real good cover over here unless I stay in these buildings. All right, finally we're gonna be able to do something about McHenry because he's gonna be out of ammo. Oh yeah, Shadow of Death. I was terrible on it. I have no idea how to play that game. I mostly did it for an excuse to be able to talk about the historic battles. Not because I was any good whatsoever at the game. In fact, I didn't even know how to do the basics on that game when I played some of those. The Adam K, I was, that's awesome. You live in the city, that's cool. I speak, I don't know if you've heard me talk about this on any of my videos. I work for an organization called Rachel's Challenge, which means I'm a national speaker. I speak in schools all over the country. And so I speak in a lot of schools. We talk about, I work for the family of some dear friends of mine lost their daughter. She was the first person killed in Columbine, in the school shooting in Columbine in 1999 out in Colorado. In fact, my daughter Rachel Joy is named after their daughter who was killed at Columbine. And so Rachel's Challenge is all about encouraging students to treat each other better, kindness and compassion, recognizing that the things that they do and say that they matter. And so I was actually speaking I was at North Rockland High School in southeastern New York, and I was also up in Monticello, New York, speaking at a school. So I had a day off in between the two schools. I was at Monday and Wednesday I was at schools, and so I had Tuesday off. And so I went to West Point, and I also went to the sites associated with what's his name? John Andre. Actually, I've got all the video filmed for a video about John Andre. I just haven't gotten it all edited and put together so I could upload it yet. Give him the credit card. Yes, not this time of year because my wife's going to spend plenty anyway on Christmas. North versus South on Nintendo. Oh my gosh, I remember that. My first really enjoyable Civil War game that I remember playing was Sid Meier's Antietam and Gettysburg. Those were probably two of the earliest for me. Tanker Red, very cool. I loved my visit to West Point. It was very cool. I was actually there. You probably saw in the news. They had a cadet that was missing. Turned out he'd taken his own life, unfortunately, and that was when I was there. Was right in the middle of all of that. Yeah, I love what I do. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Actually, one of the reasons why I do this, number one, is it's kind of my outlet for history because I get to talk with all of you incredible people who love history as much as I do. But it also helps pay the bills. I don't make a lot from this channel. It's gotten a little better with Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. That's why I've been making daily videos, because I get about 10 times as many views on that game as I do on anything else that I do right now. So unfortunately, that's why some of you may be getting sick of it. It's just the reality. My job does not pay me year-round. It's something where the first couple months of the year I'm very busy. August, September, October, but once I get into November it slows way down, and so I don't make a lot of money the rest of the year. I'm pretty much a stay-at-home dad, which is great, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, but it doesn't put food on the table. Thankfully, I have a wife who works really hard. She's also getting her master's degree right now. Yeah, Shadow, I think there are some things that Custer and Reno and Benteen could have done to win that battle if it had been coordinated properly. Oh, Pacific Theater of Operations. Oh, I loved that game. Absolutely loved that game. One of my all-time favorites. Up until these current kind of releases, that was probably the last time I really got into a naval game. I played a little bit of Battle Stations Midway. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that one. Played that on the Xbox. I'm trying to take out this battery, and then I'm going to try to deal with these guys. I've still got 4 hours left, and we're not even to the counterattack yet. John Slater, I do have Axis and Allies. I had it as a kid, and then I also had Fortress America, which was a lot of fun. It was kind of a fictional thing, kind of like a Red Dawn type of scenario. But I had my wife get it for me a couple years ago, and I taught my kids to play. So yes, I do have Axis and Allies. Sweet Tooth, yeah, I could totally do that, and that would be amazing. You guys have been all so generous already. But yeah, I could do something like that. My wife, Backseat Gamer, is getting her master's in school counseling. Right now she's actually a social worker. She is a guardian for elderly wards of the state. She has 117 wards that she's responsible for. She takes them to their doctor's appointments, makes their care plans for them, gets them placed in nursing homes, things like that if they don't have family to do that for them. But she's getting her master's in school counseling. She wants to be a middle school counselor. It's much along the lines of what I do. There's a lot of hurting kids out there. The suicide rate for 10 to 14-year-olds in America has tripled in the last 10 years, and that is just unacceptable to us. And we're trying to do all we can about it. I do it through Rachel's Challenge, and she wants to do it through counseling in the school. Yes, Simon, Ken Burns' doc is fantastic on the Civil War. Love it. I watch it every so often, even though I've seen it so many times. It's on Netflix. Company of Heroes. Hey, I actually am installing Company of Heroes too right now. It's free on Steam. That popped up when I signed into Steam to do this live stream. Finally, McHenry, we're taking you down, buddy. But yeah, I just installed Company of Heroes. I had the first one years ago. But yeah, so my wife's got about a year to go in her master's degree. So she works full time, and then once a week she goes to school for 4 hours. Hard worker, that lady. And she does what she does to enable me to do what I do. And so I'm very thankful for that. John, I try to get to as many as I possibly can of the Civil War battlefields. I just finally got to visit Shiloh for the first time, made a little video from my time there. That was really cool to be there. Been in Gettysburg probably a dozen or more times. It's only 4.5 hours from my house. Have I been to any places? Let me pause for a second. I want to get caught up on a couple of things that you guys are talking about here. Have I been to any places where a Civil War soldier has died like a general in their spot of when they were killed or mortally wounded or a regular soldier? Bryce, actually, if you go to my channel, to my homepage of my channel, you'll see I've got a whole series of videos where I visited like Antietam, Gettysburg, Shiloh, battlefields, and I do visit some of those spots where some of those generals were killed. I do try to get to some of those, but I also, I very much like to learn about the regular soldier. Not a lot of people know that President Nixon, who was one of our presidents of the United States back in the 60s and 70s, his great-grandfather was killed at the Battle of Gettysburg. He was in his 40s, had like 10 kids, and he's buried on the battlefield there. George Nixon, he was a private from, I think he was a private, maybe he was a sergeant from Ohio. But, all right, let's get back to this. You're right. We are definitely over-medicating our kids, and I think social media plays a big part in it as well. Yeah, McHenry's brigade fought incredibly well, but I'm tired of them, and I want them to go away now. I'm going to send Walton. Let's hold Loomis back. Oh, look at Root. Is Root coming across? He started to move like he was going to come across at me, and then he changed his mind, the jerk. All right, we'll keep one battery firing, but I want to start targeting his troops again. We've got 3 hours, 40 minutes to go here. Do I think the war would have ended early if Lee went to the Army of the Potomac? Absolutely. Absolutely would have ended early. McClellan could have ended the war in 1862 if he would have just moved his freaking army a little bit and taken Richmond, which he so easily could have done. Yeah, ergo proxy, scaling is what they call that, and there are ways. Actually, that's something I've learned a lot from PandaKraut, the ways around the scaling. There are certain things you can do to kind of manipulate that, and you will definitely see me do that during the course of this campaign. Yes, Gettysburg is great. Does my family have a history in the military? Yes. Closest direct, if we're talking just ancestors, my great-grandfather served for 4 years in the U.S. Navy in the 1920s. He was on the USS Wyoming, a dreadnought battleship. I had 9 ancestors, direct ancestors, who fought in the Civil War. One of my ancestors had 3 brothers who all died in the Civil War from Kentucky. Another one of my ancestors had 3 brothers who fought for the North and 2 who fought for the South. And one of them died at Andersonville. I've got something like 25 ancestors who fought in the American Revolution that I know of. Several in the War of 1812. One in the Mexican War that I know of. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to study. As I feel like these historic events become more personal to me when I understand my family's personal connection to them. Oh, I want to visit Vicksburg. I have not been there yet. I had ancestors who were there, so I very much want to visit there. Backseat gamer, yes. My wife is smart enough to go for the Steelers and not the Browns. Although my Browns got the best of them last night. However, I don't feel incredibly great about it just because of some of the stuff that happened afterwards. My wife actually went to bed before all that happened because when she realized that the Steelers weren't going to win, she kind of decided to go to bed. It was pretty late here already. All right, McHenry, I want to finish you off, dude. Yeah, John Slater, I had 2 uncles. The one I already mentioned and then another uncle who are both buried in unmarked graves at Andersonville. Terrible place. And you know, it gets all the press, but there were some prison camps where the Union held Confederate soldiers that were not much better. Elmira was kind of a hellhole as well up in New York. I actually lived very close to the northernmost organized body of Confederates who surrendered. I drive past it every week, actually, where Morgan's Raiders surrendered. Their last battle was fought in Salineville, Ohio, which is where my church is. And the surrender site is in a place called West Point, Ohio, which is a half hour from my house. Elmira is still a hellhole today. Hey, B Nutzer, man, I am so glad you have been with me for that long. That is amazing. Hey, I remember those days. You know, honestly, 2 months ago I had 7,500 subscribers. Now we're over 11,000. It's pretty cool. You know, humble little me. It's been great. I couldn't have done it without you guys. Man, we got a long way to go in this battle. I'm not feeling great about my chances right now. Did I know Pepsi had the 7th largest navy in the world at one time? What, to like ship their product or something? Ugh, Scales, not so good. He just about wiped out that battery. I'm gonna start focusing on his infantry. True crimes in the Civil War. I have not, Greg. Sounds interesting, though. Tanker, that's awesome. So what armies did they fight in going back a few generations then if they weren't in the American Army? John, I had 2 ancestors who survived the war, but ended up dying of consumption, tuberculosis, that they contracted in the war shortly after the war was over. So, I mean, they technically were casualties of the Civil War. The Russians traded ships for Pepsi. That's amazing. I'm going to do a video sometime, a discussion question to throw out to everybody that I saw somebody pose. I think it was on Twitter, and I thought it was a great question. And the question was, who in history is the best example of a failure to, quote-unquote, read the room? In other words, really understand what was going on. The 2 best examples I could come up with were Louis XVI and Nicholas II of Russia. Two guys who just seemed completely tone deaf to what was happening in their country and probably could have saved their thrones and their lives if they had kind of read the room a little better. I'm out of supply. This is going to be a nightmare now. Oh, looks like Still's going to drop back. We got about 70 people watching. That's pretty awesome. We're out of supply, so we're going to have to make something happen now. Whoa, hello. Not ideal. And this is all before we get to the fun part where they have the counterattack. He's still got a man with 1,000, 2 brigades with 1,000 men over here. I'm not feeling so great about my chances on this. And if I don't get through it, that's okay. I'll go back and play through it on my own so we can advance the campaign. It does get much easier after this battle. Wrong answers only. You know, part of me does feel bad for Nicholas, but at the same time, yeah, he kind of didn't do himself any favors either. Nicolae Ceausescu, great example as well. Gaddafi? Tanker, that's very awesome. That's definitely something to be proud of. Quite a history, even more recently. Yeah, the Adam K, you're probably right. If other countries had stayed out of it, I think he probably would have survived. Alright, I'm not sure what to do here. Where did he go? Alright, well here's what we're going to do. Oh, there he is. We're going to just keep these 2 skirmisher units up here to hold McHenry at bay. We're going to start bringing Walton back down. British 11th Armored. Oh, Belsen, that's where Anne Frank died, Simon. Was at the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Julius Caesar, I don't know. Julius Caesar, I think that happened more rapidly, whereas I think Louis XVI and Nicholas II, they kind of had years to figure out what was happening. Greg, appreciate your service. Thank you. And I'm glad you're home. My grandpa's brother was in the infantry during the Korean War, and he described in pretty vivid detail seeing kind of the Chinese wave attack that would come at them. Pretty scary thing from how he described it. Greg, that is awesome. Well, I appreciate your service, and his as well. Lars, you know, I've always known that Morgan did escape, but I guess I've never really learned how. Now you have me curious about that. Michael, really? So did they just not find him, or is he buried over there? Tanker, you know, I don't know. I think I just fell in love with it from a really early age. Kind of my earliest memory with history was I saw the Gore Vidal Lincoln miniseries starring Sam Waterston, who was just fantastic as Lincoln. Probably second only to Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal, which I thought was spot on. But I just fell in love with it at an early age, and I've just been always passionate about it. I think there's a lot we can learn from history about ourselves. And I think we do make the same mistakes over and over and over again. BLS Turkin or BL Sturkin, that's very cool. That's a great history. Army Chow Mein, that's very cool. I had a girl who was very close to us, who had been adopted from South Korea. Oh, look at this. Texas for you, giving us the Virginia state motto, Sic Semper Tyrannis. Andrew, awesome. I bet, I can imagine he probably did see some horrible things with those tanks. Boy, those tank crews had to be made of some special stuff to get inside of those tin cans and take shots like they did. Rebel forces sighted on our right. Where exactly, other than the ones that we already see? We're probably going to have to try and get across and deal with Root. See if we can push him out and get on the flank of these guys. The problem is Walton's condition is so bad, and I can't do it with Loomis alone. Army Chow Mein, that's awesome. Appreciate your service. And all of you, I'm sorry if I'm missing some of your comments, but any of you who have served or your family members who have served, I have nothing but the utmost of respect for people who did. One of the regrets of my life is that I didn't have that opportunity myself. It just kind of wasn't the direction that my life went. I always wish I had. All right, come on, come at me, Harland, even though I have no supplies. Fury, I've never seen Fury. I've been curious. I've heard mixed kind of ideas about that. Kyoko Nitsuoka. Oh, I'm gonna mess up your name. I'm really sorry. Kyokyo. I'm assuming are you Japanese? Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Army Chow Mein, I hear you, man. I mean, we do tend to glorify it, especially those of us who love history, but anybody who's actually been in it knows better. Here they come. Oh my gosh. This is about to get interesting. I'm so glad he's doing this, but that's 3,000 men charging across. Oh, he got reinforcements. Oh man. I will say this, and I know that some of you may not agree with this. If you've seen it or not, I don't know, but I absolutely loved the new Midway movie. It was not perfect by any means, but they did do their best for a Roland Emmerich movie to get the history right. Not all the details, you know, I'm sure that people who know where certain things should be on ships and on planes and stuff like that those things weren't right, but the details of what happened in the history and who did what and who said what, they got pretty well right from what I've read and learned, and so I enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done. I just felt like they crammed too much. They tried to do too much with that movie. It would have been much better as like a 3 or a 4 hour movie instead of 2 hours and 20 minutes. Man, they're getting everybody across. This is crazy. This is so different than how this goes normally. We're gonna have to send some help. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brigades crossing now. Yep, there goes Law. Man, if I just had some more supplies, I'd be in better shape. Because because I could probably do a whole lot more damage with these. With canister. Yeah, he's extending around my flank. That's why I'm bringing Loomis over. I'm starting to shift Walton as well. Let's get him up in the woods here. We'll get Stockton out there to just keep Harlan busy. Oh, man. That was a big mistake right there with Loomis. Let's get him out of there. Cutler's going to go next. Yeah, the only issue I had with Midway was that, and I understand why they did it, because they had to tell the story of why Midway mattered so much, and they were trying to set that stage a little bit. So they cover Pearl Harbor, they go into Coral Sea, they show the Doolittle raid, and it just feels like by the time they actually get to the Battle of Midway, they've been setting it up for so long that they just don't spend all that much time on Midway itself. And it just feels like a lot of, you don't really get the full picture. Like, you don't really have time, for example, to really grasp the fact that these torpedo planes go in and just basically all of them die. And that a couple of these units have like one or two guys who survive. You just, because you're on to the next thing so fast, you don't really have time to appreciate exactly what happened and how, even though they got decimated, they really did set the stage for then the dive bombers to be successful. So it just felt like it was just rushed a little bit. Lars Nansemond, oh man, that's one I haven't fought for a while. Oh, look, now he's coming across over here. Yeah, I'm probably not going to win this battle. I'm probably going to have to go back and replay it on my own when I'm not kind of distracted with doing the live stream, but we will definitely continue from here with the next one. No, I haven't played the Pacific Update. I'm gonna pause for a second again, get caught up on the chat a little bit. Fighting Season, I saw some of that. That was really well done. One of the few documentaries out there, I think, about some of the more modern wars. Oh yeah, luck was a huge part of the Battle of Midway. So many things that could have gone so differently. If McCluskey doesn't spot this Japanese destroyer that was trying to deal with a submarine, then they don't find the carriers. And if those two bomber units, dive bomber units, don't happen to appear over top of the Japanese carriers at just the right times, then things don't go well. If that one bomb that hits the one Japanese carrier doesn't land in just the right spot, then things go a different way. Lars, that's one of the things I'm talking about. They did show it, but I just felt like they didn't really... it just felt like it was a tiny part of this big story. Yeah, I agree. This is definitely going to be a restart, but once we get past this battle, the next live stream will be better. B Nutzer, hey, have a great day at work. But yeah, they didn't. I didn't feel, and I knew the story. I didn't feel like I got a full appreciation for what those guys did. And so I know people who didn't know the history wouldn't have gotten that from it. The Coral Sea, they show a tiny part of it, and they show the Yorktown kind of, badly damaged, just enough to kind of set up the idea that they were going to try to rush the Yorktown back into service. That was really, I think, the only reason they showed it at all. Yeah, John Slater, they talk about that 5 minutes that changed history. That, what was it, like 10:25 to 10:20, to 10:30 or something like that. Yeah, I agree. I don't think Midway changed the outcome of the war. I think the U.S. was always going to win the Pacific War. And I shouldn't say the U.S., the Allies, because U.S. wasn't the only one fighting in the Pacific. But it certainly shortened it. It definitely made it possible to where from that point on the Japanese were on the defensive and the war was kind of pushing west instead of being fought out longer. Yeah, and William Jenks, what's amazing about that is that you've got this guy, he's the main character in the movie. I'm drawing a blank on his name now, but he hit 2 of them. Imagine that, being a dive bomber, and he's the only guy who hit one of the carriers and single-handedly sunk one of the carriers with 1 bomb. But he bombed 2 of the carriers, Japanese carriers. It's just incredible to me that this American pilot did that. He's buried in Arlington. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Maybe somebody will know it. But he was the commander of that particular unit of dive bombers. Would I say? Oh boy, I probably still prefer the Charlton Heston Midway because I think it's better for following the story and it takes it at a much slower pace. But there's a lot to like about the new one too. It's hard to compare the two. But if I had to pick one, probably the one from the 70s. What if the UK had settled with Hitler after France fell? If Churchill hadn't been the prime minister, I guess that's maybe possible, but Churchill was never going to do that. And certainly if Edward VIII had been king, if he had remained on the throne, that would have probably been much more likely because he was certainly a kind of a Nazi sympathizer himself. I'm actually going to stop the live stream here. We'll talk for a few more minutes, but I'm not going to play anymore because it seems pretty likely I'm not going to win this. This first battle's so tricky and hard. I don't know why they make the first battle so hard, but I'll go back and replay it, and then when we live stream next weekend, we'll pick up with the next battles, and we'll get through up through Bull Run and play those. But let's keep talking for a few more minutes. We've still got quite a few people here. What do we got? Oh, we're down to 68 now, but we had, I think, as high as 80 at one point, which is pretty awesome. Gonna shoot for tomorrow morning to do a live stream of Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Thinking maybe 10 a.m. Eastern time, but that may be subject to change. The Go Mama, this is going to be a live stream legendary campaign using the J&P Rebalance mod, so it's going to be very, very different than my last legendary campaign, and it's all going to be live stream. I'm going to live stream once a week when possible, and we will do the whole campaign this way. So, John Slater, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight to you guys. It's been incredible. I've so missed doing live stream. There's just an experience where we get to talk in real time, and I love it. So thank you for being a part of this. Let's shoot for 10 a.m. Eastern time, Saturday, tomorrow morning, for some Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. That may end up being pushed back depending on what happens in the morning, but it'll be around that time. Yeah, Woody Harrelson, I thought he did a great job as Nimitz. I loved, the guy that played Bull Halsey. He's one of my favorite actors. I get doing these live streams and I can't remember people's names, but the brother of the dude who was in Independence Day who blew himself up, taking out the ship. Hey, good night, Greg. But yeah, so we'll see you tomorrow, and then I'll try to announce a couple days ahead of time the time for the next live stream. Good night, everybody. Thank you. It's been amazing, and we'll see you again soon.